What is up, everybody? Welcome to Recruiting is No Joke. I am your host, Joe Lalji, the realist recruiter. Super excited to be with you guys today. It's actually going to be a solo episode. I've got lots and lots and lots of news to cover. I've got a few personal updates as well, and I cannot wait to get kicked off. First off, I did want to just say thank you to everybody who has downloaded these episodes of the podcast, if you've watched them on YouTube, if you're subscribed to them on iTunes or Spotify, it really does mean a lot. I would love for any of you guys who are listening on iTunes or Spotify, go ahead, leave a review. I would love to hear what thoughts you have. I'd also like to invite anybody who, is thinking that they could be a guest. Feel free to reach out. I'm usually somewhat selective on the guests that I choose for the show. I really like to pick people who are putting out content as well, and people I can kind of vet beforehand. As you know, on this show, we like to cover all of the current trends within the job search world. We would like to cover trends in recruitment and just really talk about what is going on. On some other news as well, if you are a recruiter out there and you're listening to this, if you want the opportunity to connect in real life, I highly advise attending Rec Fest in Nashville. And you can go to the website. I think it's like RecFest USA. If you Google that, it will take you to the RecFest page. And if you use code JoelLalG50, you can get 50% off. Another quick announcement. If you're a job seeker out there and you're listening to this show, I've had lots of people reaching out to me, wanting to meet with me one-on-one. And I do offer that in my link tree, and it usually gets booked up pretty quickly. But I only have those for like 5 or 10 sessions a month. I wanted to open it up to more of a community. So I actually opened up a school community, which you can access on the link tree on any of my social profiles. There's a monthly fee to it, but you're going to get access to weekly Zoom calls where you can get Q&A. You get access to me all day. And then I've got a team of people as well that are uploading content around job search, resume, and really just wanting to create an affordable community for job seekers. So if you're in need of a job, you don't feel alone and you can just have access. And we've got 2 or 3 recruiters that are involved. I'm going to be bringing on guests as well to speak into the community. So it's going to be jam-packed full of value. Obviously, the goal isn't that you stay in the community forever. Hopefully you get a job. But my hope is actually that some people will stay in the community and be able to help other people who are on the job search. So that is it for announcements. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Recruiting is No Joke. We'll be right back to this episode, but first, I wanted to thank this week's sponsors of the podcast, SourceWhale. SourceWhale is revolutionizing personalized outreach. It's not just user-friendly, it's a powerhouse with custom variables, automated follow-ups, and multi-channel capabilities, including phone, LinkedIn, email, and much more. Here's what makes it stand out. Users have seen an average increase of 56% in qualified response rates. With SourceWhale, you're equipped with AI-powered tools like Content Coach and Whale GPT. This ensures that your messages rise above the rest, especially with Google's latest delivery updates. These tools have been trained on over 21 million pieces of top-performing outreach content, fine-tuning your strategy to secure better engagement, more meetings, and of course, higher revenue. SourceWhale integrates seamlessly with your CRM and ATS. It automates the mundane, organizes your outreach, and even cues you on who to contact next, freeing you up to focus on what you do best, recruiting. Ready to revolutionize your outreach? Visit sourcewhale.com/realistrecruiter and see why thousands of top recruiters are making the switch today. I wanted to start off this week with an article which isn't really to do with the job search or the job market or anything. It's actually to do with AI. And if any of you guys are watching the Olympics, you have likely seen one of these commercials. And basically, one of the commercials that Google has put out is basically promoting Gemini, which is their twice around AI tool, which if any of you guys are using Google to search, you'll notice now it always has like an AI summary at the top. That is powered by LLM Gemini. And so their commercials that they've been playing on the Olympics have basically depicted a young female athlete that basically is writing to her hero, who happens to be a champion hurdler, Sydney McLaughlin Lerona, which is super cool. Hurdles sound just insane. But basically, this young athlete is wanting to like write a letter out to Sydney and just say like, "Hey, how inspiring you've been, and how much of an inspiration she's been." And so, basically, the crux of the commercial is Gemini kind of writes the note to Sydney for this kind of young up and coming athlete. And why this has sparked some debate is because it's really just adding to almost the fear that people have when it comes to AI replacing jobs. I mean, they're essentially saying this young female athlete cannot write in her own words, words that are going to be adequate enough for Sydney. So why not use Gemini to actually just write the thank you note? I can understand why people are annoyed, and I can understand like where some of those fears would be, and I can kind of understand why they get in a backlash. But at the end of the day, my experience with AI has been this: you should be using AI as a tool to augment the actual work that you're putting out. So whether you're producing content, whether you're writing sales messages or recruiting messages, or if you're a job seeker and you're trying to reach out to hiring managers and you want to write a note to them, if you're writing a thank you note, a cover letter, if you're wanting to write your LinkedIn profile, if you're wanting to write content, anything that's written, I think AI can provide a decent framework if you've never written anything before and you kind of want to get away from that blank page. So if you want to go from blank page to something, great. I love that. I think that's helpful. I think back to when I started writing on LinkedIn. It did take me a long time to start like figuring out like what's my voice, how do I write, or I think back to when I was in college and I had to do some papers. Like the hardest thing is going from a blank page to some words on the screen, and you don't want to sound dumb. You don't want to have something that's not really communicating the message that you're wanting. So I think AI can be great in going from blank to something, but that is where it ends. If you want to be effective in communication in the future, whether you're in sales, recruitment, you're reaching out to job seekers, you look at network, you're saying a thank you note to a hiring manager, the best strategy, without a doubt, is actually to be more human. And actually, what I'm seeing is I think so many people are becoming numb and deaf to these AI messages. And some of these AI messages, I get them. Some of them can appear like they're even personalized, but you just know they're not. So, for example, I had somebody reach out to me this week about being on this podcast, and they were like, "Yeah, I love your podcast and how it empowers recruiters and helps recruiters." And I'm like, that isn't even really what we do on this podcast. On this podcast, we look at bad takes on LinkedIn. We look at viral content on TikTok. We look at the news like this, and we talk about it. We don't empower recruiters. And what they'd actually done is they'd gone to my LinkedIn page, or one of my LinkedIn page, and they'd taken what I do as a business, which I do empower recruiters to get on social media, or I did for a while. I was doing training, and they basically took that and added that into the message, assuming that what I did for my business has something to do with this podcast. So I say all that to say that even though it seemed like it was personalized, it wasn't, and I read right through it, and that message isn't going to resonate. What would have been better is if you just shoot off the cuff and go, "Joel, listen to your last episode with, Mike, the realistic recruiter. Loved what you guys are talking about how tough the job market is. Would love to have that conversation with you as well on your podcast if you're open to it." That's it. So I think sometimes we're trying to get too cute with this AI. And again, I've seen it on TikTok where you scroll by and we've all seen these videos where it'll be somebody sipping on some coffee and they're like, "Oh, you haven't got a job yet." And then really quickly a template will flash and it'll be like, "Use this template to reach out to hiring managers." And it's this boilerplate template. To me, it's not going to be effective with a hiring manager. My general thought around messaging people, reaching out to people is short, sweet, and to the point. I can see why this ad sparked some backlash with people, but I think the fear of AI is actually pretty irrational at this point. I think there's a lot that you can do to really stand out And whether you're reaching out to candidates on the recruiting side or sales prospects, or you're trying to reach out to hiring managers as a job seeker, I would tend to kind of shy away from using too much AI and just use it as a guide. So I thought that was super interesting. But I'd be curious to know from you guys out there, if you're listening to this, how are you using AI? One of the things that I'm trying to do is get like case studies of how different people are using AI within the recruitment space or on the job search. So let me know. Here's a couple of things that I've seen people use it for. I've seen auto apply tools. I've seen sourcing tools. I've seen transcription tools. AI can conduct screening calls. I've also seen interview prep, where like as a candidate, if you're looking to interview somewhere, you can actually do that interview prep with AI. So those are some case studies that come off the top of my mind, but I'm curious to hear from you guys. So let me know. So this next article, which I think came out, filming this at the beginning of August. So this came out about a week ago now, but this is basically, they said that the number of job openings out there was like 8.23 million jobs. And so LinkedIn, this is what the article says. So for anyone who isn't out there or who isn't watching, it says the posting says job openings posted 8.18 million in June, more than expected. A sign of the labor's market's resilience in the face of high interest rates. Available openings in May were revised higher, 8.23 million. The Labor Department said Tuesday. The rate that Americans voluntarily left their jobs, however, was lower, and in fact, the lowest since 2020. Look, any of you guys that follow me on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, wherever it is, you guys know my like tagline for the job market right now, and it's really simple. The job market is absolutely brutal. And I think what's interesting about this is they're saying that there's lots of open jobs, but they're also saying that people are not leaving their jobs. And the only reason that people don't leave their jobs, or one of the big reasons that people don't leave their jobs right now, is because they know how tough the job market is. So I have so many thoughts on this, and interestingly enough, I was listening to another podcast of some friends of mine, and they had a guest on, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but apparently they were saying that ghost jobs just don't exist, and it's just nonsense. I just do not buy that. The amount of candidates I talk to that have been on the job market for 6 months or 9 months, and they're saying that they're seeing the same jobs reposted over and over and over and over, it leads me to believe that a lot of these jobs, I don't even know if they are open. I also know that in my conversations with talent leaders and people in the talent space, there is something called talent pipelining, where essentially the idea is we're not hiring right now, but we might be hiring in the future. So we want to make sure that we have access to talent really, really quickly. And one of the theories, or one of the ways that you could do this, is to theoretically post a job that you might hire for in the near future, get a ton of applicants for that job, fill up, get the contact data, get people to apply to it. And then when you go to open a job, you've got, 100, 200, 300 people that you can reach out to right away. A couple of reasons I hate hearing practices like that. Number one, super misleading the candidates who are just looking for a job. And it really doesn't help with recruiters' names, or it really doesn't help with people trusting recruiters. And then number two, it's like, if they were looking for a job 3 months ago and then you repost the job, it's like, what are the chances that they're going to be interested in the job 3 months later? So I never really understood that practice. So that's my thought with that. I also think there are a lot of scams right now. Like, there's scams like people posting jobs, and then, by the way, I saw this about a decade ago when I worked in a bank. That's this old like Craigslist scam, where basically what you do is you say, hey, you've been selected to be a mystery shopper. So you go to Western Union, and what they want you to do is and you're like vetting Western Union essentially. You buy a money order for $1,000. The way that they pay you is they send you a money order that's fake. You go to the bank, and then you cash it against your account, and they say, hey, your payment is $800, so just send us $200. Wire us $200, or Western Union is $200, whatever it is. And maybe that's where the Western Union comes in. And I forget whether they're testing the bank or Western Union, but regardless, what happens is, because it's a bad money order they sent you, it defaults against your account, and you end up being out of luck the $800 that you sent them back because they paid you $200. So I probably just butchered that scam, but essentially, if somebody is like asking you to do something like that, that's a scam. But there just seems to be so many of these job scams. So I'm interested to hear from you guys. Again, if you're listening to this, Tell me what scams you're coming up to. Have you seen any like really bad ones, really interesting ones? Have you experienced this yourself? Have you been caught up in one of these job scams? I would love to know. And I'd also love to know from any of my recruiters, do you have specific examples where you've seen these like ghost jobs as well? I would love to hear that from you guys. When I see these articles where it's like job openings resilient, job market strong, I'm like, guys, let's just be honest here. The corporate job market is a bloodbath. There are definitely openings. There's lots of openings in hourly manufacturing, hourly construction, hourly hospitality. But most of my listeners, most people who follow me, they're not looking for those jobs. They're looking for the marketing, the human resources, the recruiting jobs. And again, any of those professional jobs, it is tough right now. In this week's, the next article here that I want to chat about is Walmart's return to office frustration. So, guys, you know me again. I'm a huge proponent of remote work. Number one, I think it just is better for employees if they want that way. But really, what I think what I have landed on, if I'm honest, is I am just a big fan of people being able to do whatever they want to do, as long as they're getting the results. So if you come to me and you say, "Hey, Joel, I'm getting the results. I'm crushing it at work," who cares? Who cares where you're doing that from? Like, honestly, I talk to more and more people, actually, interestingly enough, that want to be in the office some of the time. So I think the majority of people still want remote work. Anytime I do a poll on LinkedIn, it shows this. It shows that most people want remote work, but hybrid is pretty close. So why not just give the option? And really what it's going to come down to is, and I think this is something I've been talking about more and more, is like, can these companies create environments people want to be in? Otherwise, we're going to run into this. And so this article, for anyone who is listening to this on iTunes, says a Walmart employee's frustration over mandatory relocation orders to the retailer's Arkansas headquarters or other corporate hubs spilled over in a Zoom call in May. Citing anonymous sources, the move, which affects thousands of workers, underscores a tug of war over work flexibility in the wake of the pandemic. Walmart's chief people officer says most affected employees are complying and will move by October, but some say the mandate upends their home and work lives. My whole problem with this is, like, you are asking a lot. If I worked for a company and, I interviewed with them 3-4 years ago and they're like, yeah, remote work's going to be here forever. I guess if they said in the interview, like, hey, there's always a chance we're going to force you back to the office one day, fair enough. And I don't know whether that conversation happened. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I don't think that conversation happened all the time. And so I just think, like, from my perspective, I've got 3 young kids. I bought a house 2 years ago. And then looking now at interest rates, if you were to ask me to do a relocation right now, I'd be like, man, you're asking a lot. Like, not only are you asking me to uproot my whole life for you, you're asking me to potentially pay more in a mortgage. Can I sell my house? Can I not sell my house? Is now a good time to sell a house? And then I think about my kids. Like, my kids have friends. My wife has friends. My family, I've got friends. You're asking us to uproot that. And so I think this is where I kind of have a struggle with it. And at the end of the day, what I've been noticing more and more and more is a lot of times when these companies are doing this, it's just quiet layoffs. I mean, we all know that. Like, they're anticipating that a bunch of people are going to quit. So I think Walmart doing this, it's just showing the frustration. Again, what I've seen is a lot of people are defaulting to hybrid. But I also think this is kind of short-sighted because I think we're going to hit a point. I don't know when it is, but it's going to be coming soon because we've been in this kind of tumultuous market for the last 2 years. We're going to hit a point where more of these companies start hiring for corporate positions again. And when we get to that point and it gets tough to find people, which it's been like that the whole decade I've been in recruiting except for these last 2 years. But when it gets back to that point, what happens then? Do you just start saying, hey, actually, remote work's okay? So I'm really curious to see how this thing plays out. I know some people are just so sick and tired of this debate. But the reason it's a debate is because, it's like, just put yourself in that situation. You get an email. Hey, Joel, if you want this job, you need to relocate. Okay, well, thanks for caring about me. Don't worry, we're a family. We'll see what happens with this, but it just sounds like the way that companies are handling this is just not going well. And that was from LinkedIn News again. It's just crazy. So let me know too. I would love to, and I know I'm asking you guys a lot, but and I feel like I'm doing like a live show or something now. But if you can, just DM me, find me on LinkedIn. You can email me at joel@therealistrecruiter.com. Email me. What are your thoughts? Return to office is just, it's a permanent thing, or do you see this going away if the market shifts? And what's your take? Do you like remote work? Just let me know what you think as well. I love getting messages from you guys. Last video I want to play here is one, again, it's about a topic that I talk about a lot. This one is from TikTok, and I am just going to play this.
Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine.
Test out my patience. There's things that we'll never know.
All right, so this video went viral, and basically it's a girl crying on her bed and says, corporate culture needs to change. Why am I sitting here crying over a job that doesn't save lives but somehow causes so much anxiety? I've been talking about this a lot recently. I think the corporate cultures are causing more and more anxiety. And kind of going back to AI, I think one of the things that we're seeing with AI, and I'm seeing reported a lot on, is that people are using AI, and it's supposed to save us time. It's supposed to make our lives easier. But what's happening is it's actually piling on work for people. And it's the same with layoffs, right? Like, imagine you're in an environment where you're seeing 2 or 3 rounds of layoffs over the last 3 years. And so you already have that fear instilled in you that you might be next. So you've already got that fear you're dealing with. And the next thing you're dealing with is now you have less people to get work done. And you know what, guys, when companies do layoffs, they don't expect less work to be done. They expect the same work to be done with less people. And so it just creates this anxiety. And I think one of the things that I think companies, you just need to think about is right now it's a tough time for a lot of people. I don't know about you guys, but inflation it just seems to be insane. Like, I went to Subway today and got a sandwich. And look, I used to work at Subway a decade ago, probably longer now. But I can't even think about the last time I went to Subway. But I know when the last time I went to Subway, I always get the same sandwich. It's like a meatball marinara, and I get pepperoni on it. All right. Usually it comes out to like $4.50, like under $5, basically. It's a 6-inch sandwich. And I went there today, and yeah, it's crazy. She's like $8.50. I'm like, $8.50 for a 6-inch meatball. We're talking about 4 pieces of meat and 3 slices of pepperoni. And I was like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." She's like, "You ordered the extra pepperoni, so it's $1 more." I'm like, $7.50 for a meatball marinara. But that's just like one example, right? And it's like, I know my grocery bill has like doubled or even tripled over the last couple of years. And then it's like you have anxiety over, maybe you're in sales and you're not closing sales because nobody's buying stuff. Maybe you're in recruitment, you're worried about losing your job. And I think this is just creating really, really big anxiety, because at the end of the day, I talk about this a lot too. Like, when you're working at a company, you're not expected to like be yourself. You're expected to be someone who's like positive and really, really like excited about what the company's doing. But I just think right now that there just needs to be more empathy, right? And so if you're a manager, if you're leading a team, I really do think right now it's important to check in with people, because the other thing, like that article said, that a lot of people don't think about is people aren't quitting their jobs as much, but it doesn't mean they're happy in their jobs. And I think some companies right now, I know, are thinking, wow, we've got the best retention we've had in years. Nobody's quitting. And they're like, because we have a great culture. And the truth is, people are not quitting because they know it's a tough job market. It's not because you have a great culture. I thought that was interesting. I'm seeing more and more of these videos. We're just hitting this tipping point with even corporate culture. I think people are disengaged, but they're not leaving their jobs, right? We've all heard of the great stay. So you have that going on. So again, if you're a people leader, if you're leading any kind of group of people, you need to be checking in with them, making sure they're good. So that is it for today's episode. I appreciate all of you guys. Next week, we will be back with another host. I'm really, really excited for the next host. He's a good friend of mine. I've been on his podcast. As a reminder, if you are looking to sponsor an episode of the podcast, you could do that. Reach out to me. Just go to www.therealistrecruiter.com. For anyone else who's out there, if you want more information on what I do, go to the same website. Reach out to me. Fill out a contact form. Super excited to hear from you guys with that. And if you're interested in joining that new community for job seekers that I set up, again, just go to LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you follow me. There's always a link tree. It's the top link. Join it today. We've already had about 10 people join in the first day, which I'm super excited about. But join that group. We'll talk to you soon. And again, thank you so much for listening. Quick shout out, because it's just me. I really appreciate every single person who listens to this podcast. If you got this far, it really, really means the world to me. If you can, just go leave a review on iTunes, on Spotify. Leave a comment on YouTube if you have, and feel free to share these episodes as well. I appreciate all of you guys, and we will talk next week. And hopefully by then, I won't have this sling on because I'm coming to the end. And for any of you guys who don't know, I broke my arm last week. Appreciate you guys. Take care.